This week on The Valley.
Thing. Janet is so off base. I came here for resolution, and you're implying that my husband has a drug and alcohol problem. This is the worst apology that I've ever heard.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to it. We're going to be talking about The Valley Season 2, Episode 6. Let's lose no time because there's a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Alright, so we pick up right where we left off last week's episode. Brittany is going crazy because Nia didn't say to all of them that Danny was sleeping because he was drunk. Instead, she said that Danny was sleeping because he was tired. And, that is such a bad thing to do. So how dare Nia do that? And she's going off about how Nia doesn't want to show what's really going on. And she says she don't want to talk about anything. I'm going through so much right now. And, Nia overhears this. She then goes into the room. Nia says, so just because you're going through so much means that you can attack me? Which I said this last week on my recap. Yes, I will admit that. Does Nia want to portray it as if things are okay with her husband and her marriage? Yeah. Can that maybe feel a little fake at times? Sure. But I sure as hell don't blame her. And yes, I know that people have said, well, this is a reality TV show. She's got to be honest. She's got to put it all out there. And I feel like last season she was very honest about her postpartum journey, and we have seen her and Danny talk about their marriage. To me, being real and being honest doesn't mean trash your husband in front of everybody. I think it's great that a spouse actually cares about how the other one is seen. Brittany, I know you're not used to your partner caring about how you look because your husband makes you and himself look crazy in front of the whole world, but some people are different. So anyway, Nia heard Brittany and Jasmine's entire rant because it was both of them that were going off. And Nia says, yeah, he's drunk. He's passed out. Like, what else do you want to know? So Zach is trying to, calm everybody down. And he says, Brittany, think about the times that you've tried to protect Jax. And then here goes Jasmine jumping in. And she says, Brittany has had to share everything about her life. And Nia can't share one little thing. Brittany's entire life has been put on a platter for everybody to see, and she just wouldn't shut up about it. And I like Jasmine, but Jasmine, I don't need a Brittany translator, okay? Brittany can speak for herself quite well. I don't need you to be butting in trying to defend somebody else. So this is really like a pile on Nia. It's Brittany, it's Jasmine, it's Janet. So then Danny comes into the room and Nia says, you don't have to be here right now. So then Jasmine tells him what's going on, and Danny's just confused because imagine he just woke up, he's walking into a room where everybody is mad, and he's being told you hide things about your life. I would be pretty shocked and confused as well. So Nia and Danny go back to their room. He's trying to understand what's going on because he sees that Nia is very irritable. He wants to console her, but she's also a little annoyed. She's mad. It's a little bit of a frustration, hurt, mad. It's a combination of everything. So she explains what happened, that he had too much to drink and that he fell asleep, but she says that two things can be true at the same time. He is tired because he had just left the day before, came back, and yet also he had a little too much to drink, and that's why he fell asleep. Now Danny says that he had the same amount to drink as everybody else, which maybe that's not true, Danny. We gotta be a little truthful here. But Nia is crying and says that she cares about Brittany. She's been there for her. What is really the most hurtful to Nia was the fact that she caught them all talking about her behind her back before she got into that room. And I get that. What type of friends are those? Meanwhile, it's still going on. In the other room, Big Mouth Janet is telling everybody willing to listen that she caught Danny drinking tequila on the pantry. And I hate on these reality shows when there's somebody being just extremely messy, but they then try to mask it by acting that they're concerned. You're not concerned. You're trying to be messy. You're trying to stir drama. That's what it is. And for the record, the irony of Brittany participating in a conversation about people having too much to drink is ironic. And second of all, y'all have just perfectly illustrated why nobody would want to confide in y'all. None of y'all. So that was it for the night, and then the next morning they all packed up, and that was it for the trip. Oof. So in the next scene, Michelle is going on a walk, and when I saw who pulled up, I said, oh, hell no. But unfortunately, I knew this day would come. Vanderpump washed up cast member Sheena Shea. But it kind of makes sense because she is connected to the group. Her and Michelle are friends, and their daughters are friends as well. So Michelle tells her about this trip that they just took and how her and Jesse had a rough time. They fought, they screamed, they accused each other of things. She threw a drink at him. She claims to be very happy with her boyfriend Aaron, but she did have a conversation with Aaron where he said that if nothing changes as far as the toxicity between Jesse and Michelle, he might have to leave her. And she doesn't want to lose him, obviously. I wonder if Aaron realizes that a lot of the toxicity is caused by his girlfriend also. But I do understand why he doesn't want to, he wouldn't want to be a part of that if it continues like that. But anywho, that was pretty much it for that scene. And Chino was just there, listening to Michelle talk about this. Moving right along, we see Jesse and his life coach comes over to the house. We actually saw this life coach last season when Jesse and Michelle were still married and maybe trying to still work things out, but clearly the marriage was dead at that point. So obviously Jesse kept him. So he wants to discuss the couple's trip and how he got so triggered. Michelle did admit on the trip that she cheated on him, that she kissed somebody else, but she also flipped it. She said to him, well, you probably cheated on me too. So the life coach is telling him that is outright 100% projection. And then he advises Jesse to put his attention on positive things. And I'm glad he said this. He also has to keep himself accountable as well, okay? Just because somebody else is acting crazy doesn't mean you need to act crazy and also be a dick. Jesse says, I wish there could be a way that I could let my frustration out. The coach says, go ahead and scream as loud as you can into a pillow. And he does it, which was kind of funny to watch. All right, moving right along, Kristen and Luke visit a house. And that's actually going to be their new house. I'm super happy for them. They're renting it, so it's not going to be their forever home. But it's a huge, big next step. And it's kind of nice because last year we saw them move into a new apartment. And now we're seeing them move into a new house. Jasmine then comes on over, they give her a tour, and then they sit by the pool. And she says that, a few days after the trip, she has thought about apologizing to Nia, which is good. And she does say that she was definitely triggered a lot by the whole situation because of the incident that she and Melissa, her girlfriend, had with Danny. And because of the fact that she's dating a girl, she does feel like in society, sort of just in general, they as a couple of two women might not be taken as seriously by some men, and kind of like some of these men might maybe feel like they can do whatever they want to them. And that part I totally understand. That's like a whole other layer to it, which is super understandable. But I did love that Kristen was defending her friend Nia and Danny. And Luke even made a great point. He was like, since when is drinking a lot in this group like a big deal? Then they got into the pool. All right, moving along, Danny and Luke go ring shopping. Luke is getting ready to propose to Kristen, and I'm glad that he's putting a ring on it, because you gotta act. I know I shouldn't be surprised. Like, this is like something that's normal, but in today's day and age, when we see many women be girlfriends for like 5-10 years, yeah, I'm proud that he's proposing. So that was that. There's also a scene with Jesse parenting, like he's feeding his daughter, putting her to sleep, talking to her. Nothing too much to say about that scene other than like it just seems like he's a good parent. Okay, so Brittany is having a dinner, just the women. So everyone's arriving. When Nia came in, everybody's like, hi, how are you? Fake and awkward. There was a chef there who was preparing different courses for them. There was definitely an awkward energy at the table, but Brittany gets ahead and addresses what happened. So she says to Nia, I love you very much, and I'm sorry about how it all came across. Like, drinking was involved and emotions were high. Jasmine also says, Nia, I want to apologize for raising my voice at you. It was unacceptable, and I shouldn't have done that. I do think the apologies sounded sincere. They did. So Nia says thank you. She adds that what was very hurtful was that her friends waited until she left the table to say something about her. Jasmine then brings up the incident with Danny, her, and Melissa, and that's what triggered her. And Nia says, yes, that was horrible. And they worked through it. She worked through it with Danny because she knows it was unacceptable. Then here goes Michelle. You pretend everything is perfect. And that's what a lot of people have thought. She's so monotone and boring, and I'm just like, why are you even here? I wish we could have had Zach at this dinner instead of her. So then Nia goes ahead and opens up that for her, perception is something that's always stemmed from childhood. So she starts to share her life story. She was homeless as a child with her mom. They slept in shelters and tents. They had to go to the park and dig up through trash to get cans so that they could pay rent, they could have some money. And even as an adult, she had to sleep in her car. And she talks about how humiliating it was having a police or whoever like knock on her window and say, you got to leave the parking lot. So life hasn't been easy for her, yet she still is a kind person and always just wants to focus on the positive. Why would she ever want to, see the negative in situations and focus on that? It was very sad to hear that. I had no idea that she went through that. It's very emotional. And I think that most of the women were touched by this, except Janet, because Janet still couldn't keep her mouth shut and goes ahead and once again repeats what she saw at the pantry and how uncomfortable that made her feel. Girl, you're uncomfortable because you're seeing a grown man drinking tequila? Grow up. Grow the hell up. Like, what is wrong with you? She then says to Nia, I had an ex who had a drug and alcohol addiction, who, so I know about that. So if you ever want to talk about Danny's problems, you can. And I am so proud of Nia because she says, I think that's a very big statement for you to make. To compare my husband to somebody who had drug problems, somebody who was an addict. Listen, Janet, I'm sorry you went through that with your ex. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it was hard. But we don't care about that in this conversation. Don't conflate the two. Never liked Janet since season 1. She instigates, she assumes the worst, she's extra, she likes the drama, she likes the controversy, and allegedly they're saying she's a stalker. So what about that? But wait, you guys. Mia then says that her Uber is there, so she leaves. Everybody else stays. And Janet and Jasmine had a whole lot to say. And Jasmine keeps up bringing up what happened with her at this bar with Danny and Melissa. Jasmine, oh my gosh, I'm giving her a lot of grace because I totally validate her feelings, and that's why, I think it was understandable for her to feel some type of way about Danny. But how many times are you going to bring this up? If you've talked about it with everybody, including Danny, he's apologized, then brought it up again and again, but now you're bringing it up even once more. When will you let this go? And then, Janet is just ridiculous. And again, I have to give it to Kristen for being a good friend. She says she literally just poured her heart out in front of all of y'all, and that's what y'all have to say? And Janet, let me tell you something. I cannot wait until the day comes that you and your little husband's Jason skeleton start coming out the closet, because I'm going to be the first one in line watching. All right, so then we see Nia head straight home after this, and she tells Danny what just happened. She tells him what the conversations that were had and the implication that Janet made. Danny is blown away at how ridiculous those statements were. And then we also see Janet go back home and tell Jason. And Janet says to Jason, Nia has to stop protecting someone who is doing something wrong and who is affecting Jasmine and Melissa's relationship. Really? That is so crazy. She then says they really need to question Danny's relationship with alcohol. Jason then says, I need to talk to Danny. He's hurting other people. You see, people like Jason, you gotta be really careful with them. People that have a crazy spouse, they might appear normal, they might appear cool, but at the end of the day, there's no way that you are married to somebody who is disgustingly messy and such a Karen if you aren't yourself the same way. So, screw Jason, screw Janet. I didn't like this at all. It's a gang up and I'm not going to tolerate it. So yeah, you guys, this was the end of the episode. Like I said, I had a lot to say because it's just unbelievable how somebody can weaponize something against you, especially your so-called friends. But it's a lot, and we're going to have to wait and see how the season pans out, because like I said, Janet and Jason, y'all's turns are coming, and I can't wait for that. But you guys, please let me know what your thoughts and opinions were about this episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.